have a bunch of these quotes I've saved of just people, either the elite or just historical figures that describe the conspiracy so well. I mean, it's coming from the horse's mouth. So here, let me just read some of these, and then this is good because, I mean, this is really seen into the mind of the elite, so that's why I like this. So, for example, right here I have Robert Mueller, who says we must move as quickly as possible to a one-world government, one-world religion, under a world leader. Isn't that absolutely amazing? I mean, that quote from Robert Mueller talking about that is hitting on so many ideas that my shows have been focusing on, and he just spelled it out more blatantly than you could ever imagine. And then, let's see, then we have Paul Warburg saying, we'll have a world government whether you like it or not. The only question is whether that government will be achieved by conquest or consent. And then here's one of Henry Kissinger, which this definitely shows the mindset of the elite. They're master manipulators. Today, America would be outraged if UN troops entered Los Angeles to restore order. Tomorrow, they will be grateful. This is especially true if they were told that there were an outside threat from beyond, whether real or promulgated, that threatened our very existence. It is then that all peoples of the world will plead to deliver them from this evil. The one thing that every man fears is the unknown. When presented with a scenario, individual rights will be willingly relinquished for the guarantee of their well-being granted to them by the world government. Bada bing, bada boom. That's Henry Kissinger right there. Look at that. I mean, they talk about bringing people to their knees, and that's the only way we're going to accept world government. David Rockefeller once said, we're on the verge of a global transformation. All we need is the right major crisis, and the nations will accept the new world order. So you read these things of the elite, and people still call us kooks, and they say that none of this is true. And so that's why I did that show called Conspiracy Reality, because this is so incredibly true. It's absolutely frightening. And that's why if I didn't do things, starting with this Black Helicopter Radio, and then, like I said, I plan on doing more, hitting the streets and TV shows or whatever, if I didn't do this, I think I would go insane, or I would just be so pent up that I don't know what I would do. I'd have to tell some people about this. I think a lot of you could probably relate to that. I know a lot of you can. I mean, I know a lot of you try to, tell people, warn people about the future and how the elite plan to, bring the world to its knees. A global economic crisis is one way they could do it, but there's countless other ways. The elite, they plan on doing that and then offer their solution as the New World Order. So let me just read a few more of these, since this is about the mindset of the elite. I mean, how better to describe that than read quotes of the elite themselves. All right. Yeah, here's David Rockefeller talking about the controlled mainstream media. We are grateful to the Washington Post, the New York Times, Time Magazine, and other great publications whose directors have attended our meetings and respected their promises of discretion for almost 40 years. It would have been impossible for us to develop our plan for the world if we had been subject to the bright lights of publicity during those years. But the work is now much more sophisticated and prepared to march towards a world government. The supranational sovereignty of an intellectual elite and world bankers is surely preferable to the national autodetermination practiced in past centuries. It's surely preferable, right, everyone? Sounds great. Yeah, most of these are about world government, but it just shows how absolutely ruthless they are, especially the one where they say we need the right major crisis, and then you have that quote, I wish I knew, I think it was a CFR member who said, there's a chance we could use this crisis to carry out what George Bush Sr. wanted, a new world order, talking about, I think that was the day after 9/11 or shortly after 9/11. Look how they just jumped on that 9/11, which we all know they did, but yeah, it's the mindset of the elite. You want to know the mindset of the elite? Look at 9/11. They killed 3,000 people and use that as a means to bring in their new world order. Yeah, let me just go here real quick, see if there's anyone on the call. There's a call queue. I'm sorry to keep you waiting, caller. Area code 562, you're on the line.
Hey, Ed.
Hey, how's it going?
It's Clayton here from California.
Oh, nice. How you doing?
Excellent. Show again tonight.
You're the soil cube, right?
I'm the soil cube guy.
Okay, awesome. How are you doing, man? What do you think of the show?
It's awesome. I was living in Southern California when Richard Ramirez was doing his terrorist little act, whatever he was mind controlled. Who knows what he was doing? But I was living in Southern California when that was going on, and people were freaking out. He had a very strong effect.
Yeah, Richard Ramirez, and isn't it creepy? When so you heard the parts of him talking, and I mean it's very creepy when you hear him saying, you know, how violence is violence, no matter if it's done by groups or. And I mean, hey, I mean he's making some points, you know.
He actually, you know, it's kind of like that Charlie Manson thing. Who knows what's going on? There's some kind of like MK Ultra mind control terrorist thing going on. The police come out to my home because there was a break-in. You know, some guys tried to break into my house. I was just a kid, and my little baby sisters had just recently watched Stanley Kubrick, and they had written Red Rum on the garage door, on the side door to the garage. The police came out for the break-in, thinking it was Richard Ramirez during the whole like lockdown of Southern California, and they found that on the side of the garage, freaked out, sent out like 30 SWAT cars and surrounded the house and thought that they were going to capture him at our house that particular day.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
And it turned out it was just my little sisters had written Red Rum on the side of the garage door when some burglars tried to break into the house.
Oh wow, yeah, that would be freaky. I mean, they probably when the cops came and stuff, the little girls were probably freaking out because they knew they did it. The whole thing with him, the premise of him being, possible mind control. Yeah, people were mentioning that in the chat room. I mean, hey, who knows, man? I mean, if you look at the Virginia Tech guy, there's no doubt in my mind that guy was a multiple.
Him, the guy down there in the Army base. I mean, you know, these people are so obviously provocateur.
Yeah, let me mention your website. Okay, this is Clayton. He sent me this soil cube, which I did get, and it's awesome. It's soilcube.com, and he's just a listener of Antimatter Radio. We brought this up on one of Jeff's shows, and I mean he's just a cool guy. So we just thought, we put that out. If any of you have anything like that, well, I mean, hey, I have no problem, doing that. I guess spread the word about the show, and then So anyways, tell people about that. I mean, this is cool. This is a solution, people. This is growing your own food.
That's super kind that you mentioned that, but that's not why I called in. I called in with a question because, you were kind of mentioning, the question is, we sit here with people, just accepting that sodium fluoride is injected into their water in every city across the country. We've got Codex Alimentarius that's going into effect, and people are trying to, the NGOs and the UN, and they're sitting down for decades writing out that you can't have 30,000 milligrams of vitamin C, which everybody knows is good for a lot of diseases, or any kind of herbal treatment, et cetera. People are just being subjected to this kind of misery, that they're just closing down on people, and the voice in revolving door between FDA and Monsanto and Cargill and Bayer. They run in between the corporation, and they sit in the government board, and they make legislation. How do people accept this? I can't figure it out. Why do people accept this as normal? That's my question to you, basically. Do you have any idea why people walk around on the buses, like you were mentioning, with their hands folded, on their misery ride home from their job? How do people sit down and accept this? How can people not even wake up and notice that it's even happening to them?
Well, I think for one thing, I've never they say never underestimate the power of denial. I'd say that. Never underestimate the power of people to rationalize the most hellish things in their But yeah, like you're saying, like the revolving door between Monsanto and big government, and yeah, it's the most hellish merger of big government and big business. That's the new world order. And I was thinking when you're saying that, that is that is literally the definition of corruption. So I actually, when you're saying that, I looked up the definition of corruption, and let's see, corruption is corruption is lack of integrity or honesty, especially susceptibility to bribery, use of a position or trust for dishonest gain. I mean, yeah, it is the definition of corruption, what we're part of now, and people are just so blind to it, and they just sit there, as sheep being led to the slaughter. I mean, that's the perfect analogy of it.
It's unbelievable. I mean, I don't consider myself special or anything, but I look at things as they are, and I try and evaluate things, and I think, I go to my job and I have work and I do stuff, but I still think, and why is it that the mass of people, this whole election thing that we just saw, the people are like, oh yeah, we're going to get some change here or something. And how is it possible that people just don't think anymore?
Yep. All right. Well, thanks for calling, Clayton. I have just a few minutes and there's another caller, but soilcube.com is a great website, and thanks for the call, Clayton. It was good to hear from you.
All right. Rock on, Ed.
All right. See you later.
Okay, bye.
Okay, area code 267. You are on the air.
Hello, my name's Kevin,
Hi.
and I was hoping I could just give a slight slant on the story that the guy just told.
Okay. Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah,
Okay,
can you hear
good.
me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, I apologize. I guess I have this little premise. It's like a little allegory in my head, and it's essentially a combination of the Oedipal complex meets like everyday life. And I've kind of joked that it's like the NW Oedipal complex, like as an NWO, Oedipus.
Uh-huh.
Humanity is pretty much Oedipus, and Oedipus is supposed to he can't alter his history. He is going to one day defeat the father, and I believe that's a matter of humanity actually defeating the father in the mind of the idea of government, religion, anything that holds us back and ties us down and binds us as a species. We will then marry our mother, quote unquote, as in then go into a point where we've now discarded the father and government and such, and wind up living more along the lines of with nature, such as then marrying our mother. And I think then further we have to take it to the idea that Gandhi suggested as an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind. And that's pretty much where we just have to take the idea then of Oedipus, instead of stabbing our eyes out because of all the sins we've committed, we need to actually forgive ourselves as a species of what we've done to each other. Literally, the Jews will have to forgive Hitler. The Palestinians will have to forgive the Jews for what's going on currently, so on and so forth. That's just my little take on things. I believe it is truly an inevitable idea as well. Like, I believe it is 100% inevitable that we will conquer the Father in our mind.
No, that's a good point. Forgiveness is key. I actually have literally 20 seconds left, so thank you, caller. I am going to just sign out now, guys. This is a really impromptu show because Jeff had to cancel his. I will be on tomorrow. Master manipulators. Today, America would be outraged if UN troops entered Los Angeles to restore order. Tomorrow, they will be grateful. This is especially true if they were told that there were an outside threat from beyond, whether real or promulgated, that threatened our very existence. It is then that all peoples of the world will plead to deliver them from this evil. The one thing that every man fears is the unknown. When presented with a scenario, individual rights will be willingly relinquished for the guarantee of their well-being granted to them by the world government. Bada bing, bada boom. That's Henry Kissinger right there. Look at that. I mean, they talk about bringing people to their knees, and that's the only way we're going to accept world government. David Rockefeller once said, "We are on the verge of a global transformation. All we need is the right major crisis, and the nations will accept the new world order. So you read these things of the elite, and people still call us kooks, and they say that none of this is true. And so that's why I did that show called Conspiracy Reality, because this is so incredibly true. It's absolutely frightening. And that's why if I didn't do things, starting with this Black Helicopter Radio, and then, like I said, I plan on doing more, hitting the streets and TV shows or whatever. You know, if I didn't do this, I think I would go insane, or I would just be so pent up that I don't know what I would do. I'd have to tell some people about this. I think a lot of you could probably relate to that. I know a lot of you can. I mean, that quote from Robert Mueller talking about that is hitting on so many ideas that my shows have been focusing on, and he just spelled it out more blatantly than you could ever imagine. And then let's see. Then we have Paul Warburg saying, "We'll have a world government whether you like it or not. The only question is whether that government will be achieved by conquest or consent." And then here's one of Henry Kissinger, which this definitely shows the mindset of the elite. There I have a bunch of these quotes I've saved of just people, either the elite or just historical figures that describe the conspiracy so well. I mean, it's coming from the horse's mouth. So here, let me just read some of these, and then this is good because I mean this is really seeing into the mind of the elite. So that's why I like this. So, for example, right here I have Robert Mueller, who says we must move as quickly as possible to a one-world government, one world religion, under a world leader. Isn't that absolutely amazing?